Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we're playing a little wizard, Zero Gear Wizard in the Goblin Caves. This is running in the background while we kind of talk through the subject today, which is really a reaction to the video that I posted yesterday saying that I thought the game was in a pretty good state. I have never seen so many salty tears come out of the woodwork from that video that I posted yesterday. A lot of barely comprehensible gibberish about how, rogues suck now, rangers suck now. I'm playing a cleric, and apparently that offends a lot of people in the video yesterday because everyone thinks that cleric is overpowered, I guess, even though what I was doing was farming gold on a cleric solo in high roller crypts. Yeah, I don't really understand what all the vitriol is about. So apparently the community is highly divided about the benefits of the current patch. And so I guess I want to explore that in a little bit more detail. If you have a strong point of view about this, please comment below, like, and subscribe. If you enjoy this kind of content, it helps me a ton. But let's jump right in and talk about, the tangible benefits of the last patch. It slowed the game down, a big plus. It righted a lot of the wrongs with regard to the overpowered attributes on gear. And I think if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly from a lot of these comments, it seems like there's a lot of people out there who are giant fans of the idea of gear being the primary determiner of the outcome of fights. Like, if you have better gear, they think you should always win. And, for the classes where you just have to hold down W and left click with better gear and stat check, then they feel like, I guess, that is fun and emergent gameplay. I strongly disagree. I think one of the primary benefits of the last patch is that, there is a better chance for the outcome of a fight to be determined by skill than by stats alone. And I think that is a much more engaging gameplay loop than the other. There also seems to be a lot of comments about how loot sucks now. And I think that is wrong on its face. So let's jump into that real quick. Loot still is the primary way of increasing your stats. Stats are still incredibly important, as we've seen for the last several months of testing. Little changes to the amount of stats available to us in our gear pool massively impact the speed at which the game is played, the outcome of multi-team engagements, it's the primary determination over the outcome of most fights, honestly, for the last several months has been more about your gear and whether or not your build is correct more than your ability to push buttons, right? I think that's easily witnessed by anyone who's played the game for any amount of time. So let's talk about the loot real quick. Loot doesn't suck. The loot in the Goblin Cave sucks. It is primarily, white and green items. And green items don't have the item, stat budget that they used to. And so, if you're looking for good gear, the Goblin Caves is not the place to go to get it. Add to that, since the underlying gear in the Goblin Caves that's dropping is no longer great, then the guys farming the gear in the Goblin Caves is also no longer great. And I think this hits a little closer to home for a lot of these people who reacted so poorly to yesterday's conversation. It's the fact that, you can't reliably farm people in Goblin Caves anymore and make good money. Arguably, it's not even worth your time if you're capable of assembling a good set of gear. Going into the Goblin Caves is arguably a waste of time. I mean, sure, you can kill under-geared people, and we're going to see a clip of that here at the end of what that looks like today. But, even if you stick around to the end and kill most of the lobby in a Goblin's Cave, you're going to clear maybe 150 gold? Maybe on the outside chance that you get a really well-rolled blue as part of this process, or you kill another, lobby bully, then you might make more than that. But by and large, you're not going to clear very good money. You're not going to be exposed to any upgrade potential. And so you're just really here to farm, inferiorly geared players or, new players to the game. And yeah, that's one of the best aspects of the last patch is you are no longer provided an incentive for your toxicity. And I'm sorry if you hate that, but like the game doesn't need you and you can just move on your way. If you disagree, please comment below with your level of education, your other experiences with other games, because I'd love to have, a data-driven discussion around that point. But I think that play style that you're advocating so heavily for is anti-growth. I think it's anti-revenue for Iron Mace. And I think it's unfun to the vast majority of the non-psychopaths in the community. So if you're looking for a sociopath simulator, like, I'm not sure this is the best game for you. Maybe you should move on, right? But setting those folks aside, which I do believe to be a minority in the game, I think most people are looking for contests of skill that are influenced by chance and influenced by your preparation in the form of collecting gear, assembling a squad with a certain composition, and then playing into the strengths of that squad. This game has never been healthier. I agree with some of the comments from yesterday's discussion that the buff ball meta is unfun, and it continues, and it's going to continue as long as speed and visibility and barbarian health pools remain this way. I think that the go-to comp right now is Barter Cleric plus Wizard plus Barbarian, and you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna do really well. Barbarians have way too much health. In terms of the folks who had specific criticisms around Cleric, do understand though that with the item changes, physical damage reduction is harder to stack than it has been previously. And yes, the damage for some of the pure glass cannon builds on damage-dealing classes like Rogue and like Ranger, they have to be adjusted to be brought into line with the new damage paradigm, right? I think Ranger and Rogue are both in a fairly weak spot now, particularly relative to where they have been in the past. Now, if you watch here in the background, you see this Warlock just, lay a smackdown on this Rogue and then teabag him. But, like, let's take a look at the gear that this Warlock brought into the match, right? To be teabagging a Rogue in default gear, that's some real small ween energy there, Hoss. Symbolic wherever you are. Like, congrats on killing the ungeared Rogue with your well-assembled blue and purple set. You're a real paragon of virtue and skill. Regardless, yeah, going back to what I was saying, I think those classes are in a weak spot. Will there be corrective action? Certainly. It's early access. If you want to talk about major problems with the title right now, we can. And the major problems right now are exterior influences, real money trading, server stability, which is mostly being driven by the Chinese farmer epidemic that they've got going on during off hours. But just to summarize it, loot is still fantastic. You have to go to High Roller to get it. The PvP fights are slower and more skill-based, and you have to go to the appropriate place for your skill level to find them. If that's not Goblin Caves anymore, it never should have been in the first place. And also, like, additionally, the stats are going to continue to be tweaked. During the early access period, gearing is going to continue to be dynamic, and it's going to continue to evolve, and you got to roll with those punches. I'm sorry that the class that you love was nerfed, but like, you need to take a broader point of view and understand that there are currently many classes to enjoy in Dark and Darker, and there will be even more soon with Druid on the horizon and the discussion of others. Branch out, learn a different play style. I don't understand how you could objectively think that the game is not in a healthier state now than it was 2 weeks ago. And I've heard a lot of like player count numbers being thrown around, and I'd love for sourced data to drive that discussion. If you're anecdotally, cruising through and checking out populations in the general player pool, those vary wildly during the day. So come prepared to a discussion with data to drive your argument and your point of view. But simply, yelling into the wind of YouTube comments it's not particularly productive. You guys think Cleric is OP? Well, I'd recommend that you play one and try it out and figure out, where its weak points are and where its strengths are. Much like the Barbarian class, the Cleric is easily kiteable by, I think, about 3/4 of the classes in the game. If you're annoyed by their Smite cooldown, well, guess what? You can kite out during that attack the same way you kite out the Warlock's Blow of Corruption, right? When it's up or block it, right? There's counterplay elements to almost every class now, right? Where before, you were arguing about, it's a Ranger's OP because there's no outplay. That was a very legitimate argument. When you're stacking plus 50, plus 60 weapon damage and getting one tapped from, half a module away, that's an unfun gameplay loop. But I'm not sure what about the Cleric right now is an unfun, gameplay loop. The Barbarian and the Cleric and the Fighter, when built that way, are incredibly spongy in the current damage paradigm. No argument. That's just those are just facts. That's where we are. They take more hits to bring down than they did before. Yeah, that's a direct result of them bringing, the damage numbers way down, which is once again very healthy. You see this Wizard and I are both tag teaming this Barbarian, but I can't see the Barbarian right now, so I'm just gonna get on this Wizard. He probably said something to me, but I run VoIP off. Which I don't think there's any reason to leave VoIP on at this point, with Iron Mace's befuddling announcement today that any kind of player teaming is going to be a bannable offense. That's not the problem. It's not people dynamically forming 2v1 situations to team up on a bully in Goblin Caves, right? The problem is that you have industrialized gold farming going on in China, and they're crashing their servers when they don't get their way, like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. Crashing your servers, denial of service attacking you guys, and yet you want us to send videos of other players who are dynamically putting a group together to, for some kind of shared purpose. It's baffling to me that basically every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can go into any trade channel in Dark and Darker, and there is a number of people advertising gold selling services. Iron Mace apparently does not have the resources to be able to ban those guys, but they're somehow going to review hundreds of hours of user uploaded video content to determine whether or not people in those videos are, quote, breaking the rules. That is a laughably absurd point of view by Iron Mace, and I'm assuming, pursuant to yesterday's conversation, it's that same silly SOB that shouldn't be listened to at Iron Mace who's saying ridiculous things, and somehow they bubble out to the community. That is just, your head is so far in your ass, I don't even know what to say. There are multiple ways of solving the gold seller problem. Supply side, demand side, region locking, ping locking. You've got a lot of different options here. Just starting with the guys who are obviously doing it, and I don't think punishing, Mo and Curly for ganging up on Larry because Larry brought a cape into the Goblin Caves is on the same tier as the industrial farming of gold, and crashing of servers when they don't get the outcome that they're looking for, so that they can eke out a couple dollars of an hour in revenue while poisoning the foundation of your game. It's not even remotely the same thing. So I don't know, Grayson, if that's your idea, you shouldn't be allowed to post on the forums anymore. But that's just a terrible idea. I don't know what you're thinking. Anyway, if you liked and subscribed, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this content and you're not subscribing, please do. And if you'd like to carry on the continuation of yesterday's content about how this isn't the best patch ever, let's keep that conversation going in the comments below. We'll see you next time, and until then, good luck in your raids.